You guys real quick about changing the oil on your VW. You might ask, why is this critical? Well, one thing is you got to change the oil all the time on a VW because they just don't have any oil filter unless you added one on. Even if you did, they don't hold very much oil. So they still, with the oil filter, you're looking at 3.5 quarts. No oil filter, you're looking at 2.5 to almost 3 quarts. So you got to change the oil a lot. Now a lot of people will take off this whole plate every time, and I find that pretty unnecessary. In fact, most of the time you take that off and the screen underneath there is usually in perfect shape. Notice the oil's still clean that's in here. Sure, there's some junk in it from whatever went bad on this motor. But one of the key things that if you are replacing this thing, which I don't recommend doing it, in fact, I do it maybe every 10 oil changes, I'll replace this gasket, because you really want this clean and dry so that you don't have leaks. But these little things here, these little bolts, you have to use those brass washers, especially when you have the original. These are not original. The original cap nuts that are on here, because if you do it without the washers with the cap nuts and you tighten it down, what happens is it bottoms out before this plate is up tight. So if you have to have, everything has to be right with a Volkswagen. There's no room for error. There's no margins. Everybody says they're so easy to work on. Well, they're fairly easy to work on, but they're very particular. You have to have everything just right. So that's why one of the things, I don't replace this. I don't take this screen off 99% of the time. You don't have anything in it. So, and if you change your oil all the time, like you should be, it shouldn't be dirty. I'll change it every 2,000 or 3,000 at the most, 2,000 miles. Just dump it out, put new oil in. It doesn't take but a second when you do it without having to take this plate off. And it takes the big effort out of changing the oil. So a lot of times you're going, oh man, I don't feel like changing the oil because I got to take that plate off and it's a big deal. Just don't take it off. Just take the nut off and let the oil out, put the new oil in. And a lot of times, especially if you have, like, this motor is a 40 horse, and the common thing with the 40 horse was that screen, the pickup, when you go to put that screen on, the pickup would come loose inside the case. So you put the screen on, and if you weren't careful, you push the pickup up, and now you're going to run your motor dry. So sometimes you do more damage than good taking this thing off. Just to keep in mind, it's more work and it might cause you more headache. All right, well, I'll just keep going with this thing, take this motor out and figure out what's wrong with it. I don't think it'll be that big a deal, but we'll find out. Maybe it's toast. Who knows?